Got parts left over. I wonder where they go. So I just want to make a hole. That's a 1-inch bit. Let's just see how it does. A little bit of wobble there. That's pretty smooth up here. I don't feel much vibration, so I guess it's just a little bit of wobble. So you just come in gentle. I'm going to cast a shadow. Hello, and welcome to Carlin's Off-Grid YouTube channel. I do things differently. I'm a wanderer, a tinkerer, a nerd, and a U.S. Navy veteran. I have a motorcycle, a truck, and a school bus. Oh, and I built my house now. There might also be spaceships and stuff. I live off-grid. I'm powered by the universe. Comments are always welcome. It would be really awesome if you could subscribe. Hey! Alright, you found me. My name is Carlin, and I've got a off-grid house here on a little ranch in West Texas. Thanks for joining. I'll show you around. More info is on my website. You should totally check that out. The link is in the description. Cool, on with the show already. Alright, so I'm going to try to do these together. So that's what it's going to look like when you're in the store. This is the Central Machinery Harbor Freight 8-inch bench drill press, 5 speeds, used on wood, metal, laminate, composites, plastics, with a work light even. 2/5 of a horsepower. It's got 5 speeds, spindle stroke 2 inches. That's pretty little, but this is it's a little drill press. This isn't the big monster one kind of thing. Knife. So for today, I just needed to drill a bunch of holes in some 2x4s. And using my cordless drills, which is my only other option, half the time after about 6 or 7 holes, I start looking for another battery. And since I have solar power out here and big giant batteries, why not try to use that instead? Okay. Instructions. Nice to see they at least kind of oiled and put cling wrap on everything. That's just cute. Apparently there's some assembly required. Base, which is also very light. That's actually a stamped piece. They make it look like it's machined. They may have slightly machined the base, but this is a stamped piece. It's not a cast. As is this, really. Yeah, because these gussets here are welded on. Okay, here's what it is. Pieces. It does look well packaged, though. Little chuck. The motor. Box out of the way, and we'll come back for the last piece. I'll just put this upside down for now, for lack of a better place. A little light, and the cord. This is the column, just a pipe, welded pipe even. Just enough oil on here to make me want paper towels, so I'll do that. You're going to get shop towels, get the pretty ones, right? Now, eventually, obviously a drill press, you should bolt it down, right? This gives you 2 holes here. I guess you could bolt it with that. That would probably be okay. No big, massive flange or anything. Now, because of my current where I'm at situation, I guess, when I'm done with this today, I'm going to take it off the bench and put it back in the bus somewhere. I don't have a permanent place for this yet, which is why I bought the littlest one. Well, reading Chinese instructions is more for entertainment, I think, than actually for getting something done. Has been my experience, but sometimes you learn something. Oh, right. To adjust your tilt on the table, it is adjustable, but you have to have a wrench to loosen up that bolt head. So it could be done. Cord safety, keep guards, keep children, keep work area clean, dangerous environments, safety warnings, vibrations, good vibrations. Setup before use, page 6, we're getting better. It's got pictures. Secure the tool to a supporting structure before use. Before assembly, bolt the base to a flat, level, solid workbench capable of supporting the weight of the drill press and any work pieces. Now this is going to be the tricky part for right now, because I want this to be a temporary installation, and I don't want to waste all my clamps just doing this, but that might be how it sits up for now. Place column on base and align holes in the column with the holes in the base using bolts, spring washer, and washer in each hole. Okay. In all my years, this is my first drill press that I've owned. I've worked in, countless shops, well, probably 7 or 8 shops that had all kinds of nice tools. And my biggest reason for wanting to live out here, not so much off-grid, but to have my own property, so that I could do work that I would have a shop for, right? Not so much for anybody else, but just, it's like I wanted to be able to do welding and grinding and hammering without annoying everybody. So I wanted to come out here and build a shop. Still don't have the shop yet. Thing of mystery. There's 3 of those, so that probably goes together. 2 Allen wrenches. No wrenches included for putting this thing together, though. When you do your flat or your your locking washers, there you go. They go against the head, and then the flat washer goes against the workpiece. And there is, in fact, 3 and 3 and 3. That's a good start. So let me do that by hand first. I don't think there's any reference marks on here. Let's see if they got their holes symmetrical at least. Yep, look at that. And it's a metric size by the stamping on the head. So I'm going to go get some tools. I will report back shortly. I've talked about these a lot. Happened to see these at Home Depot and I was looking for something else. So it's a bigger one and a smaller one than the 2 I've had. I've had these for at least a year before I moved out here. So now I got the rest of the set. They're yellow. Can't resist. Okay, it is actually a 13 on this one. I am going to snug them all down first by hand so it sits somewhat flat. And they literally just made threads into the stamped base, so this is not going to be super strong. In fact, I'm going to have to be thinking about that when I pick it up. Since it is a stamped base, it's kind of got a sharp edge to it. And so I'm going to want to have one hand probably supporting the heavy thing. I'm going to call this the head because I can't remember. I think at the top is the head. That makes sense. So if I support the head with one hand and then kind of maybe grab the shaft with the other hand, column. Try to use the right words here so I don't get too many comments. Base, column, top thing. So anyway, do not over tighten this. The good thing since this is bolted on there, it wouldn't be big deal to remove that and make a new base. Okay, so it's not like, you know, permanently attached or anything. I think that's all we need that for. Because out here, the problem is going to be the opposite of what everybody else has. All this oil is just going to attract the dust, and it's just going to stick to it, and it'll be worse than if it was dry. Loosen the pivot lever. It's loose. Slide the table support over the column and then tighten the pivot lever. Oh, you guys, you're killing me here. Well, I'm right-handed, so I would have assumed they would put the handle on the right-hand side. This is almost symmetrical, so you could probably spin, no, because they got a, alright, there's a indicator on here, so if you flipped, yeah, if you flip this collar over to put the crank onto the other side, I guess just put it down. I'm going to leave that loose for now, so I don't know where I want it. Tighten to secure. I'm not going to tighten it yet. A rebel. Okay, loosen the 2 set screws on the right side of the headstock so they will stay clear while installing it. Set screws on the right side. Upside down, so that's what, okay. Set screws are going to use the Allens, and they are severely loose, so that's fine. Oh, I was going to clamp this down so it doesn't fall. I've got a few tools like this that, what I'm thinking is I will bolt the tool to a flat piece of plywood so that it's sort of stable, and then when I'm using it I can just take the whole thing and then set it down and then clamp the plywood to the workbench. Because I don't want to make any holes in my workbench, not that I care about that, but they'll never be in the right spot because I want to, it would make sense to be able to move this a little bit once in a while. So, you know, I don't want to get too crazy with mounting anything yet. Okay, loosen the set screws, they're loose. With assistance, you're going to help me, right? Lift the headstock above the column, gently slide it down the column as far as it will go. Make sure the headstock slides completely into the column. Align the headstock with the base, tighten the 2 set screws to secure the headstock in place. And then we put the handles on. Okay, so with assistance, right? They obviously don't know me. Cord out of the way. It's not super heavy. In fact, it would be nice if it was a little bit heavier, but whatever. It's really not bad. Fingertip heavy is not really heavy. There we go. Yeah, definitely bottomed. There's kind of a lip inside, I think, that it's on. So I want to get this kind of straight. It's not, I would say it's not super critical what direction it's facing, but you know, it makes sense that it should be sort of straight. I'm not going to over tighten these because this is a pretty thin column. So there's no sense in killing it, just enough so it doesn't wiggle. So we got the base. I just used my handy clamps to mount it to the bench for now. There's 3 bolts here. 1, 2, and 3 on the back. The tightening knob, I'm leaving it loose right now. That's what lets you move the table around. And then there's a couple set screws here and where the Allen wrench is. That's what attaches the head unit to the column. Alright, that's where we're at. So when I go to move this later, I'm probably going to grab one hand on the column, one hand on the base, probably with my gloves on because that's going to have some sharp edges. It's just not very, what would be the word, finished. Like as an aircraft mechanic, we would deburr all of our edges when we made parts. You know, nobody in a factory does that now, which is sad, but that would triple the cost of the unit just taking the time to do that. So I understand. I do. That's in, okay, then we thread the feed handles. These are the feed handles, not feet, feed. And And when you're putting them on, they're at an angle coming out, so don't try to put them in straight or you'll end up cross-threading them. They just turn into, what's that thing called? Yeah, these are feed handles, and this is the thing that does the feeding, I guess. And when it gets tight, yeah, you'll keep turning, but you'll realize that you're twisting the knob on the end of the shaft. So stop when you do that. Okay, installing the chuck. And loosen the pivot lever and slide the table to within 6 inches of the spindle. Tighten to within 6 inches of the spindle. Okay, because they wanted this out of the way, so bring it up to within 6 inches. Okay, I'll play along. And we'll tighten this down. We left it loose so it wouldn't be in my way later, or earlier. Open the jaws of the chuck to their maximum using the supplied chuck key. This is our chuck and our chuck key. So we're going to open this to the maximum. Put a piece of scrap wood on the table to protect the chuck nose. All right. Fortunately, I happen to have scrap. Ensure all parts are thoroughly clean, dry, and burr-free. Place the chuck with its open jaws on the scrap wood directly under the spindle. Okay. Oh, there is a piece of wax paper protecting that tapered spindle. I've removed that, and I'll clean that. Get this out of the way for a moment. Oh, I see what's coming. This makes sense. It's a tapered spindle. Spindle chucks are not typically actually attached to the spindle in case it jams or because they are removable. Okay. So with it tapered, it actually jams itself on there. Okay. Clean, dry, place the chuck open on the wood. With the feed handles, gently lower the spindle so it just enters the opening on the top of the chuck. Examine the chuck from all sides to be sure that it is properly aligned. Don't get it on there crooked. Then using the feed handles, insert the spindle all the way into the chuck, pressing the chuck nose hard against a piece of scrap wood on the table to secure it in place. So you literally are going to press that thing in there. This is the kind of thing that you may never have to do this again. The one shop I worked in, sometimes the chuck would come loose and it would actually fall off, and so you'd just hopefully catch it before it hit the ground. That was always funny. Okay, make sure you're going in. And I've gone down too far. It's funny, they said 6 inches plus my scrap of wood, and I don't have enough depth. That's probably the instructions for the other one, so let's come up a few inches. Now you would want enough room to get it in there, but this drill press only has 2 inches of travel, right? So I'm going to bump this up a little bit so that I've got enough to actually completely press it in there. Now I'm going to tighten my table again. And I've got enough travel to get it to set. Alright, now we're on there. So I'm going to kind of support it. I'm looking at it and make sure I'm not going on crooked. And then I'm using the press to set. And I'm also kind of watching the table to see if anything moves. Yeah, I'm flexing the table. Last thought, I'm going to move the table out of the way again. Pull this down. Yeah, it moves freely. This should not come off now. Yeah, it's on there pretty good. So the idea is the end of the shaft is tapered, coming down. So it's got a slight taper to it. You really can't see it on most of these, but it's just enough. And this has got a matching taper, so when you jam it in there, it locks it. Friction, essentially. So then this only goes down 2 inches. I've got parts left over. I wonder where they go. I didn't see this in the instructions, but this leftover piece is supposed to go here. So this has got, yeah, that makes sense. So I'm going to need my screwdriver. I'm going to attach this knob up to here. screw through the hole from the inside, turn the knob from the outside. In fact, I can probably do it by hand without a screwdriver, maybe. If I can hold it with my finger. Yeah, that's good enough. Now you got a handle to keep this open. For some things, different speeds make difference. Now, I don't know if in the instructions, if it gives you any recommendations here. There's a set of positions, so the motor is in the back, the spindle's in the front. If you move this belt up or down, it's the same as your 10-speed bike, right? So you could change the speed of your output shaft by moving the belt up or down, okay? In the middle is an average speed. To adjust it, the adjustment here all right, that's interesting. I'm looking at the knob thinking you could do that. You loosen the knob and it's just going to let the motor move, and then your belt gets slack. You see that? So you just kind of push against the motor to get enough tension on here. You can see that's pretty loose. And this was moving down here, right? Is that showing up? I think it does. Anyway, the motor, you loosen up the knob on the side here. The motor moves. That lets you put some slack in the belt. From that, you could then move the belt up or down. Now, you always want to stay on the same, on both ends. So the top set or the bottom set on both. I'm going to leave it back on average for now, because I'm going to make a bunch of average holes, so it probably doesn't matter. So I'm going to leave this on average. In the instructions it says about 1/2 inch of deflection. That's about 1 inch there. So I can push this out a little bit. And without taking the tension off, you really can't move the belt very easily. Okay, that's about 1/2 inch. There's no reason to over tighten it. As far as you don't want the belt too tight, it'll just wear out faster. That's the knob I put on. It doesn't seem to be in the instructions. That just gives you something to hang on to so you can open this up. Inside is the speed chart. If you find a reference on the internet that says drill this hole at this RPMs, this would be useful, all right? Or you may just leave it on the average and, you know, never change it. Got some instructions here and warnings on the side. Okay. This is the handle that you pull down on. That runs your drill up and down. That was the knob that loosens for the belt adjuster. 2 switches. It's probably in the instructions. This one's probably for the light. This is the main on-off. Since I'm not plugged in, you can see I'm not plugged in. Let's make sure the switch works. Doesn't jam. And then this would be the light switch. Make sure that's off. You could remove this, and then that would disable the drill press, the center part. If you do that, you're on your own, because if you lose it, well, you know, you'd have to find a new switch. On this side is a depth gauge, and you can set stops. So for instance, if I knew I only wanted to go down 1 inch, right? Uncross thread the nut. Okay, it's got 2 nuts, okay? What you could do, I'll do this on a tripod so it's easier to see. What's nice about something like a drill press is you can do kind of production work. You know, you could sit there and do the same thing over and over and get exactly the same results. That's the idea. Alright, so here you've got a depth gauge. Now this is assuming that your bottom table was adjusted to a proper height. Okay, so let's say that we were set up so that my drill bit just touches the work surface when I'm in full up. Okay, so that's 0. And then as I pull it down, this nut's going to hit the bottom. And that's about 1.5 inches. So if I want it to be 1 inch, I'll hold it at 1 inch. Run this nut down. And then I'll let go and I'll check it. Just make sure it stops at 1 inch. I'm a little bit off. And if I was doing really high precision work, I'd be checking this with like a micrometer, or at least a proper machinist ruler or something. But typically on something like this, you won't be doing high precision anyway. So the second one locks the first one from moving. So you sit there and you go over and over, and every hole will be the same depth. That's what that's for.
Okay. Most people will never use that, probably. But it might come up where you're like, oh, this would be kind of handy, you know. So what you would do, I would say jam these two together so that they don't wiggle. It's not going to go anywhere, but, you know, that way they don't get lost. Now you can run down to about 2 inches. Just slightly less according to that. Yeah, the gauge is slightly off, so you get about 2 inches. Okay, that's what that's for. Then we can power it up and just make sure it works before I get too excited about anything else. Switch on. I've heard of some of these being bent, and I saw a flutter, but I think the flutter is in the collar of the chuck. It doesn't seem like it's in here. Relatively safe. I'm going to take this and just hold it up against that when it's running and see if it's bouncing around a lot. No, it's dead quiet there. Yeah, I'm seeing vibration up here, but not down here. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so that's good to know. Just because I've seen videos of some of these lower priced drill chucks or drill presses, you get it all put together and the head wobbles so bad you can't use it. That's just really annoying. That seemed fine. I don't remember anymore. I know this one came, that's Warrior, that's from Harbor Freight. Up to 1.5 inches. I don't remember if these are Warrior or not. I lost the package, but I got it from, there's a 1/4 inch around here somewhere, up to 1 inch. So, here's your first point. The length of the bit, you got to set your table so you can get the bit in. Right? Grab your chuck key, tighten it down. So if I wanted to drill, you know, this average piece of wood, I'm already all the way up. Okay. If you've never used a drill press before, this will be a new experience for you. Now where we can find it. So we're going to have to loosen up our, on the side there was that clamping knob. So we'll loosen and move this down. Okay, now that's all the way down. My table is all the way down. My 2x4 has just enough room to get my finger under there, which isn't a good place to put your finger, but you get the idea. If you run into that situation where you can't get down far enough, then you loosen up your table again, slide it out of the way, and you use the bottom as your table, right? So now you'd have more room. The trick is if your spindle doesn't go down far enough, you're kind of caught in no man's land. Grab another piece of wood, make sure your wood is flat so that then you can get it all the way. You'd be looking for how to make up the difference, right? That's why it's nice if you got a spindle that moves more than 2 inches. You know, if you're working with wood, that's because a 2x4 is actually 1.5 inches. So 2 inch is about your minimum, you know, of movement. You might be, you know, looking like if I wanted to drill a bunch of holes in a 4x4, I would need like 3.5 inches of movement. Okay, so that's where we're at there. I don't know if that showed up. It kind of did probably. Anyway, so just something to be looking for, right? So we got our self set up in there. So what you would do, get your workpiece set up so that you got a little bit of room so you're not actually in contact, and then tighten your clamp down again. Okay. Snug it down. Now when I pull down, I'm in contact. Okay, next piece. Now, if this digs in, it's going to rip around and you're going to be smashing your knuckles. It's never good, and it happens when you're using a drill press. Eventually the piece is going to come loose on you. So, this is why you want clamps. Since I conveniently also have clamps that I just bought, your next thing is figuring out where you can put the clamp where it's not in your way. But the trick is to get the clamp and the piece set up where you can work without the clamp being in your way, basically. So we'll go something like that. I'll just do a quick drill and see how that does. It might move a little bit. I also haven't verified that I'm square or level with anything yet, so I just want to make a hole. That's a 1-inch bit. Let's just see how it does. A little bit of wobble there. That's pretty smooth up here. I don't feel much vibration, so I guess it's just a little bit of wobble. So you just come in gentle. I'm going to cast a shadow. That's cutting really nice. When you use a spade bit with a handheld drill, cordless drill or whatever, it's very hard to keep it dead straight. And if you're not straight with a big hole like that, it's really obvious. And especially if you can't track it exactly straight each time. Like if you start the hole and then you stop and then you start it again, you're never quite in the same spot. So that's really a problem. Now, I just realized I forgot to check something, so I'm going to have to waste that hole. Yes. The hole in the middle here, is a little bit too small for my 3/4 inch bit to go through. So, yeah, I'm glad I looked, right? A good idea, if you're going to drill a bunch of wood, for example, maybe make yourself a wood backer plate. And then we have to reset ourselves again, right? This is something to look for when you're using a little tool like this, is you can very quickly run out of room. See, I can't put that's probably 7/16, less than ½ an inch. I can't get it in there. Okay, so you're gonna have to be thinking about that. This is why we try to wipe all that grease off, right? And there is no center hole at all on the bottom. If you were gonna do a bunch of something, since our vise didn't work, you could take a board and mount it to here, right? Either by clamping it or bolting it. If you were really set up in a proper shop, you could build a fence on here the same way you have a table saw fence. And you could even work it into these slots so that the fence could move back and forth, all right? For today, I'm just trying to keep it fairly simple. If I set this to the point where my line is, find the other one. Okay, get my clamp set square. Now it's square. Put my piece in. I got it right on the line. So now I'll clamp it down. There. Now if I move back and forth, I'm always on the line. Alright? Good. Now, these are almost a 1.5 hand clamp. You can get them to work one-handed, but you end up wishing you had the other hand anyway. Still, it's a lot easier than some of the clamps. Alright, that's locked down, that's locked down. My board, I'm going to drill a bunch of holes, well, a few. Clothesline, if you get them a foot apart, that's pretty good. By doing it this way, if you're going to be using a drill press, you're going to need some kind of jigs once in a while. So that's kind of why I'm setting this up. Oh, also, see, that clamp's in the way. The one on the other side isn't, but this one is. I'll move it in, maybe. These are, you know, you look at something like this, okay, this is really fiddly, it feels like, right? Okay, now that's good. Okay, good news is, I don't hit my table on this setup. I'm using a 1/2 inch bit and it goes through the hole. So I should be okay there. That's good. So by taking a little bit of time getting yourself set up here, now I should be able to knock out, I mean, if you think about it, I spent an hour and a half setting up this drill press probably this morning, plus shooting the video. My clothes would be dry by now if I had hung them up, right? The lines that I'm going to drill holes in, I actually drew a circle so I'd know which ones are which. If you were doing really fine precision woodworking, you wouldn't mark it up with a Sharpie, but you get the idea. So on this one, I'm just going to transfer the lines because it's more important that they're the same at this point. So I just made sure I was even on one end. And this thing is so hot I can hardly touch it. And the last one. And while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and mark these. And this is where it attaches to the stud. This is where it attaches to the stud. So you take a little bit of time on the setup, and the rest goes pretty quick. I think this is the last thing. An outfeed would be really nice, right? Because I'm going to be sitting here, way out here, right? Trying to hold this on the mark, and drilling, and balancing. But it's only 5 feet long, it's how big this is. So if I can get myself set up, just make sure I'm flat on the table. I'm not going to worry about setting up an outfeed for this. Let's make some holes. Enough talking. Some of this I'm just making myself reminders for later. Okay, I want to just last chance, make sure I don't drill into my table. That's fine. Let's get her done. I'm going to do a little bit more aggressive on the feed. I just want to see how much it can handle. And we got lots of wind, so it should blow the chips away now. Clear, power on. See, I gotta have one hand holding the workpiece, other hand doing the drilling. That's not quite ideal. It's a much smaller bit too, it'll drill fast. See, it tore out the back because I didn't stop. If you flip it over, you get a cleaner back, but I don't really need it for this. That bit looks a little bit bent. Might have been bent already. Okay, make sure I'm on the fence, make sure I'm flat on the table. I'm probably pretty straight, but my clamp, when I move the clamp, the foot of the clamp is just enough in the way. There, let's see if that makes it any better. It's a small thing. Too fast. Belt was slipping. Just like that. So, for this project, yeah, complete waste of time, right? It would have been much faster to sit there with my cordless drill, knocked out some holes, even if I had to stop and change a few batteries. But now I've got kind of the idea. I know what the drill is capable of. I see some of its limitations. Unplug before you do this. But I also got some ideas. I'm not going to do a lot with it right now, but later on, I could see making a proper fence setup for it with an adjustment. I could see making some sort of an extension to at least hold shorter pieces of boards. For my chop saw, I've got the same kind of a problem. I need some kind of end supports. So if I made a common accessory that would work with the chop saw and the drill press, where I had like a end feed that I could adjust up and down on threaded rods, that would be worth doing. Also, it would be nice to have an end stop set up where I could come out, put a clamp and a block so I could slide the wood, hit that same hole every time. Then instead of measuring, you got the precision, you know you're straight up and down. This allows you to adjust your speed of how fast you're drilling. and you have holes that you can attach things to. You can do stuff with this that you just really have to struggle with a hand drill. I mean, hand drills are easy, everybody's got one, but when you use a drill press, you'll never look back. You'll always like, man, I wish I could do this with a drill press. It's just a completely different animal. So it's a good starting point. As far as, you know, the value of this one, for what it is, it seems well made. It worked well. I only got it to slip once, and that's just because of belt tension. I was fairly aggressive with my speed. It's got enough power for its size. I think it's probably got more power than what you would expect for a drill of this size. So in that respect, yeah, I'm definitely happy with it. And then the depth of the cut is only 2 inches. That's how far you can do, okay? For a small drill press, that's completely acceptable. If you need more than 2 inches, get the next size bigger. It's a lot more expensive though. I'm glad I bought it. Hopefully that helps you out. If you like the video, click the like button. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Welcome to all my new subscribers. Appreciate all your support. Questions and comments, always welcome. I'll do my best to answer the ones I can. And stay tuned for the next one. Bye for now. Alright, that's about it for this week. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. If you're new to the channel, definitely subscribe. And what else is there? Patreon and PayPal and all that other stuff. Check out the link in the description. I've got a page on my website. Gives you a lot more information about the ranch and everything I'm doing out here. So again, thanks for now, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.
More info is on my website. You should totally check that out. Link is in the description. I do things differently.